Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for joining us. My name is Lacey Coop and I'll be your host for this webinar. We're excited to be hearing from SAP partners Esri today. Esri is the global market leader in GIS. They built ArcGIS, the world's most powerful mapping and spatial analytics software, and pioneer problem solving with GIS. Esri has been helping their customers improve results since 1969, and they believe location intelligence can unlock data's full potential in every organization. We're privileged to be hearing from a panel of Esri speakers. We have Rob Lodati, the Director of Global Partners and Alliances at Esri, Cindy Elliott, Head of Commercial Industry Marketing, and Salim Sawaya, Esri's Business Development Manager for Nonprofits and Global Organizations. Today, our presenters will be showing us Esri's capabilities firsthand and sharing use cases that demonstrate the power of Esri, ArcGIS, and SAP HANA Cloud working together in real life. Before we get started, I want to go over the features enabled with this webinar so we're all comfortable using this space. I'd like to draw your attention to the engagement bar at the bottom of your screen, and I encourage you to engage with the presenters by using the Q&A widget. Feel free to ask your questions here, and our presenters will be addressing them after. I'd also like to point out the resources widget where you can download the slides of today's presentation and find other helpful information. And lastly, I'd like to invite you to take part in our survey using the survey widget located at the bottom of the screen. The survey is only 2 questions and helps us ensure these webinars are meeting your needs. With housekeeping being taken care of, I'd like to pass the webinar to Josh Ledbetter, Director of SAP HANA Spatial Solution Management here at SAP, just to give a brief introduction. Go ahead, Josh.
Thank you for the introduction, Lacey. I'm Josh, the Director of SAP HANA Spatial Solution Management, and today I'm excited to talk to you about how SAP HANA Cloud works with Esri ArcGIS. You'll see the benefits you gain from deploying these 2 solutions together, and you will also see 2 use cases to see the full power of this type of deployment. These will be shared by my colleagues from Esri, Rob, Cindy, and Salim. I'd like to first start with some background around our partnership together. Esri is the global leader in GIS and locational intelligence. Rob will go into detail about what Esri does, but I'm proud to say SAP has collaborated with Esri for more than 20 years to help organizations improve their geospatial capabilities. Starting in 2012, SAP and Esri worked together to make SAP HANA a highly optimized database for ArcGIS. Now, here in 2020, geospatial data is more important than ever. There are so many more data sources like IoT devices, mobile phones, drones, social media, and a lot more. Organizations need a way to successfully store and analyze this data. They also need to make geospatial data a key part of their business processes. That's why SAP and Esri work together with SAP HANA Cloud. Before I go into specifically how it works with ArcGIS, I want to provide some background on SAP HANA Cloud. SAP HANA Cloud is a database with the speed and power of SAP HANA, but built natively for the cloud. It is the scalable query engine. It can efficiently perform advanced analytics on live transactional data, structured and unstructured. This is done in real time and on the same data set with multi-model support. You can also build powerful applications on SAP HANA Cloud. Best of all, this is all flexible and scalable. So that means no upfront cost and lower total cost of ownership. Pro and ArcGIS Enterprise. ArcGIS is an extremely powerful mapping and analytics platform. It provides organizations with the tools they need to make an impact. However, to make that impact, you need to ensure that the underlying data management foundation is strong. That's exactly what SAP HANA Cloud provides. What you get when running ArcGIS on SAP HANA Cloud is high performance with a built-in spatial engine, a single point of real-time access to all data. That means publication geodatabases, SAP data, and non-SAP data sources. Scalability. To boost, compute and storage capabilities whenever needed. Operational efficiency by eliminating mundane database admin tasks, all again with a lower total cost of ownership. All of this together makes SAP HANA Cloud the ideal database for running ArcGIS technology. Now I want to hand this over to my colleagues to share some more about what Esri does when combined with SAP HANA Cloud.
Thank you, Josh. It's great to be here today. Now that you've been introduced to the power of ArcGIS running on HANA Cloud, I thought it might be useful to learn a bit more about Esri, its history, and the market as we see it today. For the past 50 years, Esri has been delivering some of the most powerful mapping and spatial analytics capabilities around the world to commercial businesses like utilities, natural resource firms, insurance agencies, and financial institutions, as well as government agencies from the largest national governments to the smallest municipalities and towns. With that market leadership, we have some examples of our footprint throughout the world. For example, over 350,000 organizations use Esri technology every day. Over 33,000 commercial businesses, almost 9,000 utilities, and over 30,000 cities and local governments. Today, we have over 100,000 users coming to Esri conferences every year to learn more about how to deploy and use Esri technology more effectively. But maybe one of the most interesting statistics about Esri's footprint is the Living Atlas, Esri's archive of curated data, one of the largest in the world, generates over 1 billion maps, charts, and graphs every single day. So with that history and market position, why SAP and Esri? Well, Josh showed you that the two companies have been partners for a long time, working to solve a fundamental value proposition, and that is how to break down the silos between GIS and ERP systems. The ability to consolidate those platforms leads to the potential to provide integration between those systems and unleash the power of geospatial intelligence throughout the organization. We've seen many, many examples of organizations with that capability reaching better decision-making opportunities, gaining new insights into their business, developing new and enhanced workflows, with the ultimate goal of creating better productivity, as well as reducing their total cost of ownership in enterprise systems. We have a truly unique opportunity today with the availability of HANA Cloud. From an Esri's perspective, what we see in the marketplace is a rapid acceleration of geospatial technology being deployed in the cloud. In fact, Esri has coined a term called the Esri Geospatial Cloud to characterize our ongoing efforts to supply technology and content in cloud-based systems. So as we pursue that vision and meet customer demand, the availability of HANA Cloud gives us a perfect opportunity to realize the vision of geospatial technology running in a cloud environment, in a consolidated platform with other ERP systems from SAP, highly integrated with other operational systems, all running in a highly scalable managed cloud environment. So with this vision in mind, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Cindy Elliott, to give you a few examples of specific opportunities we see in the marketplace.
Thanks, Rob. I look forward to spending a couple of minutes sharing with you some ideas and examples of how organizations are really strengthening their supply network resilience, working with Esri's location intelligence technology and SAP HANA Cloud. And honestly, I was very moved and inspired by an article that came out recently with the Boston Consulting Group. We are in an era of uncertainty and an era of disruption. That won't change in the next months and in the next years. I think most organizations have to be prepared for, and I love this quote here, not to eradicate uncertainty, but really understand and create the conditions in which they can live and thrive with it successfully. And it's with that, I really wanted to look at how organizations have been doing that and how can location technology and HANA Cloud help organizations get better. The story here from Paul Rossi at GM talks about how understanding the geographic location of its supply network is essential to understanding how a particular incident or series of incidents will impact the supply chain. Having an understanding of what vehicles and parts could be impacted by an event, which part numbers and specifically which plants, really help them create effective response. Rossi believes that location intelligence drives market edge for GM. Part of that reason is that the technology gives them a competitive advantage is because they're first to respond after events occur. So they're in a better position to provide product and service to the customers in the wake of an event sooner than their competitors would be able to do. At Esri, we really think about, simplifying this and making 4 basic steps to improve supply network resilience. And personally, I think it's 4 steps to start digitizing the supply network. First, you want to map your supply network elements and overlay that with authoritative data. Rob talked about that in his opening, and I'll share some examples of that here in a minute. Then you want to visualize all these elements and layers together and even continue to add in real-time data feeds, special events, and other threats that may impact your ability to perform across your network. And even being able to apply a situational awareness filter within those impact areas so you can quickly and easily share that information out with the rest of your organization through dashboards, mobile apps, even collecting data back into your network so you're able to, augment and continue to enrich your supply network resilience. So let's step into the software for a moment and take a look at how easy this can come together. It's all cloud-based. But organizations can take their internal ERP and operations data and start layering in their supply network. Right now, we work with a lot of organizations that are still doing this on spreadsheets and old outdated systems. Put things in here such as distribution centers. You can add shipping lanes, major roadways, whatever is most important for your organization within its operation. You can see here we had several different layers of COVID-19 data as organizations were really trying to get, a very clear picture of how their operations would be impacted by COVID. As early as recent as today, we have an active hurricane approaching the Gulf Coast. This is Hurricane Zeta. At the time of this demo, Zeta was imminent and starting to hit, had already crossed over the Mexican Yucatan Peninsula. But now you really want to say, so this is the beginning of your own supply network. You might want to go and find some of those authoritative layers that Rob had mentioned, because at the end of the day, many other resources are going to be called upon in order to potentially respond and support what's happening in the supply network. If you're not familiar, Walmart in many cases is a first responder, considered a first responder. Being able to come in and add something as simple as Walmart locations and being able to map them and bring them into your thinking is really an important aspect, especially for those sites that might be first responders. You might also be running a fleet of electronic vehicles and need to understand where are charging stations in the vicinity of the hurricane and what might be needed to put your fleet out there. And not only are the dots there, but you can interrogate any operation within the dot and understand the exact location, the hours that it's available, and who is able to use it. Very informative and intelligent layer of information. Now I'd like to be able to go in and say, we talked about that incident layer. What does that mean? So we can see here that the U.S. coastline is really impacted in the southeast by this hurricane. Being able to go in and quickly draw a band around the impact areas of the hurricane, and being able to come back into your organization and say very quickly, what are my facilities, my suppliers, my distribution centers that are all impacted by this hurricane. That information, as you see here, can be downloaded to Excel or other digital means so that you're able to go and communicate out throughout your organization very quickly what's impacted and start planning for that response that we saw from Paul Rossi at GM. But to take it even that intelligence a step further, being able to assimilate that information into a dashboard. So you're seeing a global picture of all of your operating environments, and you can share this, and it's an interactive experience that can be shared with your leaders throughout the organization, being able to narrow down and see the impact that any one trouble spot may have within your organization in a very simple dashboard experience. To close with one last story here, I wanted to talk about Gannett, Fleming, and Geodecisions. This is a major U.S.-based architectural engineering and construction organization. They had hundreds of projects underway in the Tri-Cities area, or tri-state area, right on the onset of COVID. They had, projects at locations. They had inventories, heavy equipment, staff, partners, suppliers, all kind of in concert working in and around that tri-state area. And in just a few days, they were able to put together this experience that they were able to share throughout their ecosystem, their supply network, the status and risks that were being faced by staff, by suppliers, and such, and really help kind of ease the transition into that kind of emergency response mechanism so that everyone was kind of singing and working off the same dashboard. But many organizations, once they get this early phase of digital supply network visualization and awareness, transition and continue to layer even more rich data that might be coming in from other IoT feeds. It might be coming from their trucks, their trains. It might be coming in from their inventory status and their suppliers. And they're being able to layer this in and not just see status and monitor status, but be able to trigger alerts when either equipment or a work environment is kind of operating outside of the bounds of the expectations of the network. So being able to really mitigate and work through early disruption before it can severely impact the organization. With that, encourage you to learn more here at the Esri website. And I'd like to hand over the microphone to Salim, who heads Esri's work with nonprofit and global organizations worldwide. He'll share more about how these organizations and those organizations that he works with are using GIS to support their work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. At Esri, it's a core part of our mission and strategy to form partnerships with nonprofits and global organizations around the world that are focused on making a difference in areas such as conservation, humanitarian response, sustainable development, and education. These are key customers for Esri who are pushing the boundaries of how and where to utilize GIS technologies. GIS provides a process and a framework that supports these organizations to implement and manage their programs and work in the various mission areas that they support. They use GIS to measure, analyze, measure. They use GIS to measure, visualize, analyze, design, make decisions, act, and engage with their stakeholders. As the founder of TED, Richard Saul Wurman, often says, ideally, understanding precedes action. Johns Hopkins University is a great example of a partnership with a customer that has helped to create real impact. We've all seen this dashboard and used it to understand what is happening with COVID in our communities, across our country, and around the world. Esri has also partnered with and supported many other organizations as they help to respond to the COVID pandemic. Our users across the United Nations are leveraging Esri's SaaS offering, ArcGIS Online, to quickly configure and deploy applications that support the world's response to COVID. While COVID has been the big focus for so many of us in the last 7 to 8 months, there are other crises that the world is facing. The Horn of Africa is facing the worst desert locust crisis in over 25 years, and the most serious in 70 years for Kenya. 42 million people are in severe acute food insecurity in the 3 regions affected by the crisis. Esri has partnered with the UN Food and Agriculture Organization to help them stand up a desert locust hub with rich content and applications that support the global response to this crisis. For example, in the upper left corner here, you'll see a locust breeding forecasting app that integrates soil classification, vegetation greenness, and soil moisture forecast data to determine areas where locusts are most likely to breed in the next 14 days. Beyond the Horn of Africa, and for reasons beyond desert locusts, there are 690 million hungry people in the world today. The world's largest humanitarian organization, the World Food Program, is working to save lives in emergencies, build prosperity, and end hunger around the world. WFP just received the Nobel Peace Prize for their work on these issues, particularly in places affected by conflict where food security is a major issue. We're proud to partner with and support World Food Program in using GIS across their operations. Here are just a few examples of how WFP is using GIS to support their logistics work, identifying areas where their trucks and people can transit, to analyze and understand the impacts of COVID on people's food security, and to create maps and information products that enable their staff to make good decisions and implement programs effectively. GIS is used widely to support organizations working on sustainable development around the world. Here are a few examples of map products and applications developed by the U.S. Agency for International Development to support their work around the world to improve people's lives and bring them out of poverty. GIS is used to design development strategies, implement programs efficiently, and monitor and evaluate the impact of their work so that they can learn and strive to improve their operations. Here are just a few examples of the different applications and topics where GIS is applied. Esri is proud to be partnered with the United Nations Statistics Division to support the Sustainable Development Goals. We have worked together with the UN and a number of member states to create a global network of SDG data hubs that enable countries and other agencies to publish and report on their SDG progress and share SDG indicator data that is relevant to different programs and decision-making in organizations around the world. This is a really important initiative that we're proud to partner with the UN to support. Beyond scaling that global network, we're focused on and excited to work with organizations who are supporting specific issues in the areas of health, food security, and inequality. Here again are a few examples of organizations using GIS to respond to COVID. The Locust Hub from FAO that I mentioned previously, and a few example applications from the UN and from the Kellogg Foundation that are focused on helping organizations identify ways to reduce inequality. So at Esri, we're excited about the impact that our technology has been able to have in these important mission areas. We recognize the value that a software as a service based approach enables these organizations with. It makes it easy to deploy technology, configure, and quickly get applications out to people that need them. We also recognize the value that the SAP and Esri partnership brings in making it easy for data to flow from operational systems people have implemented with SAP into global systems of systems like the Federated Information System for the SDGs. With that, thank you very much, and I'll pass it back to Lacey.
Thank you, Josh, Rob, Cindy, and Celine for sharing with us. There was such value and insight in what all of you shared. And now we'll move into the Q&A part of today's webinar. We will give you, the audience, the next 5 to 10 minutes to ask our Esri guests any questions you may have about their presentation. You can ask your questions by using the Q&A widget located on your screen or at the engagement bar at the bottom of your screen. All right, without further ado, let's get into the first question. And we have the Esri team still here with us. And here we have the first question. This is to our Esri team. What are some of the challenges you see for your customers to connect operational and customer data to location analytics?
I'll take that one, if that's okay with the team. So I think what some of the challenges are is that they're not accustomed to blending this information together. So often operational data, as we all hear, is held in silos, really kind of separated, but between HANA Cloud and Esri's ArcGIS, these are very much platforms that can bring, kind of slices of this data that are needed for the analysis together. So it's really about moving and sharing the data outside of the silos, but creating that technology environment and platform in which this information can be shared more easily. And I think that's really the strength of the cloud environment, is being able to unify these data components. It doesn't mean it has to be everything across the operation, but you can definitely create pathways for this data to be shared. I don't know if Sunil or Rob have anything, Celine or Rob have anything to add to that.
Awesome. Thank you guys for answering that question. Here we'll move into the next one. So what is the plan of integration and enhancement of Esri and SAP Analytics Cloud?
Do you want to talk about that one, Rob?
Yeah, let me take that. So first of all, there is an existing integration between Esri technology and SAP Analytics Cloud. So any organization that has access to Esri technology can flow base maps and other map services through SAP Analytics Cloud. And we are going to continue to evolve that capability to provide more and more services such that private data that's in an Esri organization can be made available to all SAP Analytics Cloud users.
Thank you for answering that question. And we'll just keep on moving into the next one. What do your customers desire with regard to a customer experience from your solutions? Have the expectations changed since COVID-19?
Celine, do you want to start? And I'll add to that one for sure.
Yeah, I'm happy to comment. I think that one of the things that we definitely see in following or through our experience with COVID is greater recognition amongst customers as to the importance and the value of being able to rapidly configure and deploy solutions and applications into operational contexts. It is not possible nor feasible to spend months and, thousands and thousands of dollars developing technology when the need is immediate. And therefore, they value the configurable approach of a SaaS offering even more greatly than they may have before.
And from a business standpoint, I think it's very similar to Celine's answer, like that you can't wait the time that you used to be able to wait to get some of the detailed analysis. But I think also the granularity of data now as relates to community health, to ability for businesses to operate. Right now, especially with COVID, that might be very different from one zip code or one community, one county to another county or from one state to another state. So you can't treat kind of your operations as a whole anymore, really needing to be able to partition them down to the very specific market area or trade area, and being conscious continuously of the public health situation that's happening in those communities at the same time. So I think that's a change, and I don't see that going back. They're going to our consumers, our business operators, they're going to continue to move forward looking for this level of granularity and current data. I won't call it real time, but current data elements.
Thank you for answering that one. And here we have the next question. What are the difficulties while integrating SAP HANA with Esri? How easily ArcGIS can fit on SAP Geo Framework?
Well, let me try that one as well. This is Rob. So first of all, a few years ago, Esri created full support for HANA on-premise, so fully supported geodatabase environment, which allows organizations to consolidate their infrastructure on HANA and deploy full ArcGIS enterprise there. Just a few months ago, we took that support and made it available on HANA Cloud. So now we're promoting the ability to run ArcGIS Enterprise within the managed environment that's represented by HANA Cloud, and we see tremendous potential there. That is for both on-premise and cloud a fairly seamless practice to bring your enterprise environment into a HANA environment.
Thank you for answering that question. And here we will move into the last question of the session. Thanks for sharing the use cases. Beyond sustainability and commercial, what are some of the other use cases you've seen with ArcGIS and HANA Cloud?
Yeah, this is a great question because we tried to focus in today on kind of a few very relevant and timely examples, given the world around us of areas that the combination of our technologies could be deployed, but there's a host of other workflows and industries that are using this combination today. An obvious example is the utility space, where various S4 products, including EM, is being used routinely by utilities to manage their assets. And likewise, Esri has a large footprint in the utility industry. Many of those organizations see the value not only of consolidating their enterprise on HANA, but also deploying it in a cloud environment, in a private cloud environment. So there's quite a number of scenarios whereby utilities would take full advantage of the HANA Cloud ArcGIS portfolio. Another is any organization that needs a secure environment. So through SAP subsidiary NS2, there are opportunities to deploy a private cloud with high levels of security. And again, these are opportunities run across various markets, but we see that in the public sector and the federal space. So there's a large number of opportunities, both for ease of integration, so developing workflows, but also security.
All right, that's all the time we have today for Q&A. Thank you for everyone who participated by asking questions, and thank you, Rob, Cindy, and Celine for sharing and answering the audience's questions. We hope you found value in today's presentation. Before we close today, I'd like to invite you to engage in our survey again. With only 2 questions, it's a quick way to give feedback on today's webinar experience. We also have some questions come in about if this webinar can be viewed on demand, and the answer is yes. An on-demand link will be sent to the email account used to register for today's webinar in about 2 hours. Thank you again for joining us today, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.